All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 27th, 2026 Landmarks Commission meeting. It's great to see everyone in person and online. In compliance with the notification requirements of the Ohio's open meeting law and section 101-021 of the codified ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings based on Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by a roll call vote. Recusal from any case due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the beginning of the presentation. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has had the opportunity to be heard, virtual attendees will use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again to mute your microphone. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meetings are being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. Channels for comments provided in writing are sending an email to the landmarks@clevelandohio.gov email address with a comment or a letter, calling and or leaving a message at 216-664-2532, or sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall at 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 519. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the stated deadline are collected by Landmark staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. This meeting of the Cleveland Landmarks Commission is a lawful meeting. Under section 605-0.04 of the codified ordinances, no person with purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Violators may be removed and prosecuted under CCO 605.04. Members of the public may provide public comment if required by law, in accordance with our rules and sometimes at the discretion of the chair. Disruptions include, but are not limited to, speaking out of turn and or making loud utterances that interfere with the due conduct of this lawful meeting. May constitute a misdemeanor and violation of section 605.04. If this meeting is substantially disrupted, I will call for a recess and the room will be cleared. Persons who violate the city ordinances and commit misdemeanors may be subject to prosecution. When this body is able to return from recess, then in compliance with Ohio Open Meeting Act, if applicable, and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances, the meeting will be open to the public.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go through the meeting rules and procedures. The chair will call each agenda item and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation is concluded, the chair will ask for any public comment and Landmark staff will summarize any written public comment received prior to noon, the Tuesday prior to any regularly scheduled Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting, which has been provided to the commission members in advance of the meeting. Any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then ask Landmark staff to summarize Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations and provide a staff report and any recommendations. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
Now we will call the August 27, 2026 Landmarks Commission meeting to order. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Dulick? Councilmember Gray? Mr. Lozier?
Here.
Director Mersman?
Here.
Ms. Sabin?
Here.
Mr. Sambry?
Here.
Mr. Strickland?
Here.
Mr. Trosick?
Here.
Dr. Williams?
Here.
And Ms. Trott. All right, Mr. Chairman, we do have quorum. I'd also like to note that we have Jessica Beam and myself present from the Landmarks Commission office. and Sierra Lipscomb from law present.
Great. With that, we will begin our certificates of appropriateness. So we'd like to welcome our first applicant forward for case 26-054, Lorraine Avenue Historic District murals across the city, located at 1701 West 25th Street, mural installation. You want to unmute yourself? There you go.
Sure thing. Alex Harnotes from Destination Cleveland.
Yes, there. Just click on the right button. It should move through your presentation.
All right, very good. So this is a proposal coming out of our Murals Across the City program. I don't think that we've had any of these previously in front of the Landmarks Commission. They generally go to Planning Commission, but not in this case. So this is a series of public art that Destination Cleveland has initiated over the last 3 years. This will be the 9th piece in the series. I'm going to try to advance us. There we go. There are the 6 from the first year in which we painted directly onto brick walls. Last year, we began doing these in heat applied vinyl, which is the plan for this series this year as well. So the idea behind these are Cleveland positive phrases. Again, Destination Cleveland, as our destination marketing organization, works to change perceptions of Cleveland both inside and outside the city. So the idea here is to inject these Cleveland positive messages into neighborhoods and to partner with local artists to design sort of around and behind those phrases. So moving forward, there are the 3 from last year, again done in heat applied vinyl. Talking a little bit more about the material. These are large format printed. This is a 3M product that is it's a vinyl product with a foil backer. It's applied to the building and then essentially heat shrunk to it. If you heat it again, it's able to be removed. So if for any reason these are damaged or reach the end of their life, they're able to be heated and removed from the building without damage to the brick. We think that's an advantage, both because it opens us up to more buildings, it's a little kinder to the brick surfaces, and also it opens us up to more artists because you're working with a pretty limited pool of people who can print a large, or not, anyone can print a large format mural, anything that can be digitized. The smaller pool is, who can paint at large scale. So again, you repair or remove it by reheating it. The contractor that we use is Sherba Industries out of Brunswick. They have been doing this process for about 12 years. They have murals from those initial installations that are still up and looking good. The material itself has about an 8 to 10 year lifespan generally, depending on how the wall faces and what sort of weather it takes. So when we enter into agreements with these buildings, we do them at a 5-year term with a 1-year renewal. So after 5 years, we're checking in with them and saying, hey, does it look good? Does it make sense for it to stay up another year or does it need to come down? We'd do the same in this case. This is our process. We do a call for artists. We evaluate those applications based on portfolios. We match an artist to a building owner, and then they design pursuant to that building and that particular surface in that location, in that neighborhood. We then share it with key stakeholders like the CDC, the council person, and others in the neighborhood. And then here we are at number 6 for city permits and entitlements. So about our artist on this one, Nigel Hawkins goes by Days or Days One. He's a multidisciplinary artist, runs a tattoo parlor, is a small business owner, accomplished artist, and a graffiti creator. Has done, like I said, plenty of graphic design, tattooing, and murals. So our location is the CMHA Welcome Center that's just north of the Riverview Tower on 25th Street at the Franklin intersection. The reason that this location is particularly attractive to us right now is that this, well, I can't point at the screen because it disappears, but this here is the newly realigned Franklin Avenue coming up through Irishtown Bend Park. This road is not currently open and there's some construction fencing in front of the site. So this may not look like it makes sense today, but we're proposing this mural in this location with the anticipation that that road opens and is sort of a gateway to Irishtown Bend. Moving forward, there is, with our back to the wall looking north, again, some construction fencing right now, but you can see how that will in the future address the intersection there at Franklin and 25th. Looking east with our beautiful skyline view over Irishtown Bend. Another look at that from the corner, and you see the wall itself circled there. This is looking south on 25th Street. That wall that's in shadow is X'd out because it is not the wall we are proposing. That building has a little bit of a step back, and the wall, which is X'd, has a stairwell in front of it. The one immediately to its left out of frame is the wall we're proposing and is at ground level. So I think we'll get another better look at that right here. Yep. So close up to the new street, that tree with the volunteer tree will be removed. A little bit of cleanup in front of the building we're working with CMHA on. But essentially that'll leave us a wall that will, nope, one more context photo looking across the street. Will leave us the wall, which is essentially outlined from the front corner at West 25th Street up to that vent, which is roughly a 10 foot tall by 20 foot wide space. So here is the design by days one. We talked through this with representatives from the CMHA, from the artist, from Destination Cleveland's PR and marketing departments. Days was really inspired by the murals that were originally installed by the Works Progress Administration in the CMHA properties and are now preserved in their headquarters. So his thought here was sort of different modes of work that were prevalent in that neighborhood at the time. You see the Riverview Tower. See the salt mine, the railroads, the streetcars, and really sort of blending that past and future of work and life in Ohio City. Moving forward, this is just roughly rendered onto the wall with the transparency turned up so you can see the wall behind it. But that's the area that we'll be looking to cover. Raised up probably about a foot off of the landscape there, so we don't fall victim to the weed whacker as the property is maintained up to the top of the brick, and again bounded on the left side by that vent. Again, partnered with the CMHA to identify a local artist and to bring this neighborhood and the city's story to life. I do want to call back to the design. We actually worked with them, with the CMHA, to develop this phrase, which is in the lower left-hand corner, forged by pressure and rooted in resilience. This is not something that Destination Cleveland normally uses in our branding, but it follows our sort of brand architecture and theme, and it was very important to the CMHA that resilience was included in this design. Jumping back forward. I think that's all I have for you. So at that point, I will turn it over to Tara for department comments.
Before we get to
I'm sorry.
comments, we'll open this up to the public for public comment. Do we have anyone in the room or online speaking before on behalf or against this item? Hearing none, seeing none. Go ahead.
Thank you to the chair and the committee. This went before the Historic Ohio City Review Committee on August 20th. They did not have a quorum. I do have 2 letters of support, one from Councilman Davis, whose ward it's in, and one from Ohio City. And I just wanted to read an excerpt from each letter, if I may. Councilman Davis said this project reflects the kind of visible community investment that helps strengthen Cleveland's public spaces and reinforces the momentum taking shape along the Cuyahoga Riverfront. Riverview Tower and Riverview Welcome Center have stood as longtime fixtures in the community, and as Irishtown Bend continues to develop into a once-in-a-generation riverfront park and destination, this project offers a way to further connect this area to Cleveland's past, present, and future. The proposed artwork will bring new energy to a highly visible site near one of the city's most recognizable riverfront views, while complementing ongoing efforts to make the Irishtown Bend area more welcoming, vibrant, and connected. And an excerpt from Ohio City. Ohio City Incorporated supports projects that strengthen neighborhood identity, improve the public realm, and create welcoming spaces for residents, workers, and visitors. This mural reflects those priorities by bringing new visibility and care to a prominent site along West 25th Street near the future Irishtown Bend Park and one of the neighborhood's most recognizable sites, Riverview Tower. This project excites us as an opportunity to increase connectivity between West 25th and Detroit, two of our strongest commercial corridors. In addition to what they're saying, I think that this artwork feels historic and fresh at the same time, which I think is very appropriate for a historic district. And the fact that it's heat applied vinyl, it can be easily removed if it went into any disrepair. Some of you may remember years ago there was a temporary wheat-based mural on that same building that architect Malaz El-Giamabi spearheaded, and that was a great project as well, and it was temporary. So I am very much in support. This artist has a proven track record. This process has a proven track record, and I think that wall in particular is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will hear any additional comments from the Design Review Advisory Committee.
Jessica, did you want to? We did not have quorum at that committee, but yeah, Jessica.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna say Tara answered,
She summed it
stated
up
all of that.
Sounds good. Great. And landmark staff recommendations.
very similarly. Ms. Peters summed all that up. So yeah, staff is in support.
Great. Now we will open it up to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off? Mr. Sandberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand that there's like a 5-year period, and then after that you'll check in yearly. Because this is so close to an active construction site, I guess I would recommend kind of maintenance cleaning, either during or right after construction finishes, just so it's a freshly cleaned once all the construction debris is gone and construction dust. Is that part of the cyclical maintenance on this, or?
So generally it's not, but that's a great suggestion, and we'll address it with CMHA as we finalize our agreement with them.
Okay, thank you. Otherwise, I'm in full support. I think it's a great project.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Sandberry. Any other questions or comments? I can add mine. So I'm in agreement as well. I think this is a really great opportunity for this installation. I appreciate the sensitivity of the artwork itself as well, and really celebrating this area of the city and the community that has been a part of it for generations and generations. And this really becomes an amazing backdrop to the new park there. So and I appreciate the sort of the heat applied vinyl by nature as well. Going on Mr. Sandberry's comments, and you may have mentioned this in your presentation, but when is this intended to be installed? What's that sort of the time frame?
We hope to get it in before the weather turns this
Okay.
fall. Yeah,
Great.
we're pretty much ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those are my only comments. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Sandberry?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented, with the recommendation that a cleaning plan is in place once construction is done next door.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Anderson? Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Mustin, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Ms. Saban,
Yes.
Mr. Samry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously.
Great.
Very good. Thanks for your help.
Forward
Thank
to
you.
Seeing this go up. Certainly. All right, and with that, we would like to welcome our next applicant forward for case 26-055, Cultural Gardens, German Cultural Garden located at 1036 East Boulevard, Monument Rehabilitation.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to do this presentation. This is an effort to repair and replace the stolen bust of Ludwig van Beethoven.
But sir, excuse me, sir, before we get started, could you please state your name for the record?
Oh, my apologies, Eric Whitman, and also I have to apologize. I have a terrible cold, so I'm going to sound very hoarse.
All right, thank you. Go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, this is an effort to repair and replace the bust of Ludwig van Beethoven located in the German Cultural Garden. This particular monument was destroyed or defaced over 10 years ago. The bust was stolen and some damage done to the monument itself. The German Cultural Garden Federation, which was formed 5 years ago to initiate upgrading of the German garden, finally was in a position to find an artist to replicate the bust and to improve it. The monument itself, which is made of pink granite, is going to be resurfaced and repaired before the bust is placed. The bust will be put down by Scorpio Sculptures, specifically Travis Cook, who is an artist who has worked in the Cleveland area and Pittsburgh area doing a number of projects. The proposed bronze plaque of Beethoven, as you can see in front of us, has a face of 2 inches depth with a frame surrounding its features being 1 inch. And on top of the frame will be the musical note of his Fifth Symphony, which will be an upgrading from the original design advance. This is the musical note in question. It's sort of a lighthearted touch to let people know, because many people may not know who Ludwig van Beethoven is. So this was an attempt to identify him as a musician for individuals viewing the bust. Advance. Any questions?
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Before we get to questions and comments from the commission, we will open it up to the floor for public comment. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in favor or against this particular case? Seeing and hearing none, we would like to hear recommendations from the Cultural Gardens Design Review Commission.
Thank you very much. This is Tom Turkley. I'm the Executive Director of the Cleveland Cultural Gardens Federation. This project was reviewed by our Design and Preservation Committee on July 10th, and then subsequently approved by our Executive Board on July 18th. We're in full support of this project. Obviously, as you can see with the damaged monument there and the missing plaques, it's really kind of an eyesore in the gardens and something that's truly missing. Everybody knows who Beethoven is, and deserves that recognition. So we are in full support of replacing what was lost a few years ago.
Great, thank you. And then we will hear from recommendations from Landmark staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is also in support of the proposal. Seems like a fairly straightforward and essentially replacing what was previously there with a bit of an upgrade. So staff recommends approval.
Great, thank you. And with that, we will open up to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off? Mr. Sandberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in full support of this proposal. I do have one question. Since this was vandalized before and parts were stolen, has there been any effort or thought about putting in tamper-proof hardware? Or how's it going to get fixed to the stone so that it'll be more difficult in the future to be removed again? You're in mute.
We are working with Milano to guarantee that, as much as one can guarantee, that the monument will not be destroyed or removed with ease. They've indicated they will make it as tamper-proof as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberg. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion? Mr. Sandberg.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the requirement that the details of the plaque and the connection to the stone be submitted to staff for approval.
Great, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Hey, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Ms. Saban,
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously.
Great. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing our project move forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we will move on to our third case, case number 26-056. India Cultural Garden located at 1190 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, seating updates.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Hira Rane. I represent India Cultural Garden, chairperson for the garden. And we are proposing seating arrangements for our garden. So let me try to share my screen. Okay, so we have a total of 7 slides in this presentation. And it has the scope of work involves 2 benches for sitting and 2 picnic tables. And for those to attach it to the grass, so we decided to have a concrete pad underneath. So let me go to the next slide. There are 2 benches are kind of towards the front on the left hand side. You can see it's about 12 feet or so away from the sidewalk inside the garden, and towards the right side, towards the back, is the concrete pad which has 2 picnic tables. And the next slide shows the design of the bench and the design of the picnic tables. Okay. So the concrete pad for the picnic tables measures 10 feet by 16 feet, and the picnic tables will be anchored to the concrete pad. On the left hand side, where we have two benches, the concrete pad measures approximately 18 feet by 6 feet and by about 14 feet deep. And that's essentially it. There are few more slides which tends to show actually the location in the pictures where these benches and the picnic tables would go. That's about it. That's our scope of work for these improvements.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Before we move on to advisory committee recommendations, we will open up to the floor for public comment. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak on behalf or against this case? Seeing and hearing none, we will hear recommendations from the Cleveland Cultural Gardens Federation.
Thank you again. Tom Turkley back here again from the Cleveland Cultural Gardens Federation. Yeah, this application was reviewed by our Design and Preservation on August 14th and approved by our Executive Board on August 17th. This is a unique new application for our garden as far as especially the picnic tables go. Those have not been installed anywhere else throughout the gardens. So there was a bit of a discussion about that, but we felt that, you know, it does give also ample seating and place for people that just, so we are in full support of this project.
All right, thank you. And landmark staff recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think like the Design and Preservation Committee of the Cultural Gardens Federation, you know, staff also was kind of intrigued by the idea of picnic tables as these are the first use of them down in the cultural gardens. So it's an interesting idea. I think it's nice to encourage, you know, the congregation of people and giving them an opportunity to actually sit down together instead of just at benches. So we're supportive of that. We did have some questions about the materials and the quality of materials, recycled plastic versus composite type materials. We understand that wood, the durability of it probably isn't recommended, but I guess just wanted some additional information about the materials, and then thought maybe a darker color for at least the picnic table surfaces might help sort of blend it into the surroundings and landscape a little bit better. But we're supportive, just I think would like a little more detail.
All right, thank you, Mr. Musson. And now we'll open up to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off? Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to know from Tom what the standards typically are within the cultural garden for concrete walks. Typically, we prefer stamped concrete or at least a pattern in terms of the jointing that would mimic stone. And of course, the preference typically is actual stone surfaces. But I would suspect that's not practical in this application. But I wondered if it's possible to pursue a textured concrete surface, simulated stamped concrete, or at least a pattern to kind of mimic stone in terms of the concrete jointing.
Yeah, sure. We try and, you know, uphold those kind of standards. As far as I know on this project, the concrete is only going to be used as kind of a base for both the benches and the picnic tables. So the visibility, I don't think is that much, but we can look into that.
Would the applicant like to provide some comments?
Yeah, so we have, it looks like we can do it two ways. We could do a stamped concrete and the probably the color to match the existing stones which we have around the circle in the center, or we could create a joint pattern which tends to mimic kind of a stone, has interesting character. So we can look at both of those options, and we will. So should we then be resubmitting the drawings back, Tom?
I believe so. That would be up to Landmarks, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. What the process will be is when we make a motion, we will include whatever language within that related to submitting additional information to staff.
Yeah, okay. We can resubmit the design for the concrete pads. Yeah.
Great. Anything else, Mr. Strickland?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the applicant's desire to put in more seating in their cultural garden. I share the staff's concern about the materials and the plastic. I think I think a cultural garden is it's not like merely a park or a playground. It's celebrating the ethnicity and the culture of our many different ethnic groups in this city. And I just feel like there should be a higher standard for the cultural gardens, and I'm not comfortable with the off the shelf plastic and the product that they've chosen. I'm also in agreement with Commissioner Strickland's comments about the stamped concrete. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Dr. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to prolong the time, but I will say that just want to echo some of the concerns that were expressed by Mr. Munson, and also my colleagues on the Landmarks Commission, Mr. Strickland, as well as the comments regarding the materials for the bench and the table. Just looking at the images, and right now I can't really read the fine print. I'm just concerned that they appear to be of different materials and different colors. And so if it's appropriate for the staff to also review more information about the actual materials and the appearance of both the heritage bench and the table, then I would like to make that a condition also for approval by the Landmarks Commission.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Rain?
Yeah, so would like to inform that these benches and the picnic tables from the manufacturer has been rated for outdoor use. So even though it is called as a recycled plastics, those are rated for outdoor use.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commission? I will go. I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners. I think that, while I think we all really appreciate the desire to add additional seating, I think the seating that's actually being proposed doesn't. I think there's a missed opportunity with the design of these and with sort of these the pieces as selected. At a minimum, from my perspective, I'd like to see the coloration be consistent on each of the pieces, And maybe that's sort of a dark, the darker finish for both the support structure and the seating surfaces and table surface. Um, But I think that I would also like to see other options that may have been explored as well for something that might feel a little bit more elevated for the importance of the cultural garden. So those are my comments. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Before we make a motion, I'm interested in hearing specifically from the applicant, after hearing these comments, sort of your interest or openness to reflecting on something that is a little bit more elevated? Or do you feel that what you have presented here today is the final selection that you want the Landmarks Commission to act on?
So I think the comment regarding the color of the seating and the top surfaces of the picnic tables. Now, keep in mind that these two products are from two different suppliers we found. So there may be some color variation. However, we could look into a little darker color, the top and the seating arrangement. The frame can probably remain the same, but the top surfaces, we could choose a darker color and resubmit that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to look into alternative colors. I think there's a couple ways that we can handle this. One would be we can make a motion which will likely include conditions that will for the applicant to submit any revised selections for their review, or we could table this case to allow the applicant more time to be able to provide that information to this commission, and then we can take a final vote. Is there a particular course that the applicant would like to move forward, either going through a motion or tabling?
I mean, if we can get a conditional approval, and we would, however, will resubmit a stamped concrete color scheme and the tables and the benches color scheme, we could do it that way, I guess.
Okay, that sounds good. I appreciate the feedback there. So that said, would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll make a motion to approve the project with the condition that the concrete be submitted as a colored stamped concrete solution with an appropriate jointing pattern, and that the applicant resubmit a color scheme for the bench and for the picnic table in a darker color, and as a requirement and a recommendation that they consider a elevated design for those two elements.
All right, thank you, Mr. Strickland. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, I would second that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Here none. Mr. Mustin, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
No.
Director Mersman?
Yes.
Ms. Saban?
Yes.
Mr. Sambry?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Mr. Trasick?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
And Mr. Lozier?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the motion passes by a vote of 7-1.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm sure staff looks forward to seeing the additional information.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to our next certificate of appropriateness. Case number 26-057, Caxton Building located at 812 Huron Road, signage master plan. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and so if you want to push the red button, there we go. And then please announce yourself and move forward with your presentation.
Will do. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I am Bill Bolton. I'm the president of property operations, which owns a building known as the Caxton Building, which is at 812 Huron Road. First, I want to say it's a bit intimidating to follow Beethoven. And I confess that I don't think we will achieve in any commercial art the beauty that he brought to the world. Now, I'd like to give you a brief review of the Caxton Building, what the signage that we're presenting about, and then turn it over to our consultant, Tom Sterinsky. The Caxton Building was completed in 1903. It's a historic building. There are many photos of it in the early days with signage on the rear and buildings around, advertising tenants, what is for sale, the neighborhood. In one of the photographs we presented at the Historic Design Review Committee, there was even a Baker electric car from what appeared about 1908. So I think everybody's aware that the city and most American cities are economically challenged today. And what has brought us, we have signage on the building, and a potential tenant has asked for signage, which created an economic opportunity for the building and for the city. And that is Russilli Construction. The president of Russilli Construction is joining us online today. His name is Adam Drexel. The downtown Cleveland supports us, and Ian Meadows is with us today. And I have crossed communication with Councilman Starr, who sent a letter generally supporting every economic development, but he did not address the specific signage, which we're here with you today. So we created a potential signage plan and took it to the Historic Design Review Committee. They had comments and suggested a master plan be created so that there would be certainty as to what the future signage requests before this committee might be. We met with the staff and went back to the Historic Design Review Committee, which unanimously supported the project. So we are here, and I'm going to turn it over, the actual signage presentation, to Tom, the master plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Sterinsky. I'm an urban planning and placemaking consultant. So Bill and Dan asked me to work on this master plan. I have about 20 years of experience working in downtown Cleveland and doing a lot of signs down there. And Caxton Building has to be one of my favorite buildings downtown. And so it's important to me to one, protect the historic integrity of this pretty amazing example of Romanesque architecture, but also give ample opportunity for economic development for the businesses in there, because a beautiful building that's empty doesn't really mean anything. So the purpose of this master plan was, like, as Bill mentioned, is to kind of create clarity and standards. So the tenants, the property owner, the Landmarks Commission staff, everybody kind of knows this is what's expected. And it balances that economic development and the history. It outlines, you'll see that it outlines opportunities for signage for ground floor tenants and upper floor tenants respectively. It talks about the massing scale of it and ways of applying and fastening signs. It does not get into design. So this is the standard bearer, but all future applications will use this document to develop signage, design review, city approval, code, zoning, and landmarks all fall into play here. So it's just, you'll see that it's still subject to the Greater Downtown Historic Design Review Advisory Committee and Landmarks Commission and all permits. So we'll start with the most significant facade, the Huron Road facade, which everybody knows. This image basically outlines where you can put signs and where you can't put signs. And so specifically in the red area where signage is restricted, it specifically states in that area or above. So we're not going to see a big Coca-Cola sign floating on top of the parapet. And then it also outlines the sign area for the ground floor tenants that have direct access to Huron Road. There's an east side of the ground floor tenants here and the west side, because the east side has I'm not sure when that was done, Bill, but a modern, maybe 70s-ish.
I think actually 50s.
50s, okay, it could be 50s, yeah, that makes sense. Storefront that is a little funky to put signage in. So I'll say this left-hand side, but it's going to repeat all the way through. So the actual signage and layout will depend on how many tenants occupy this section of the ground floor tenant. So this kind of lays out where all the opportunities are, not that one tenant can put a sign in all these areas. The sign can be any typology within the defined areas in terms of illumination, color, shape, branding. In all fasteners, this will be repeated 100 times through this document. Penetrations must be centered on the mortar joints, not into the brick, masonry, or historic elements. And I say center to be specific because you guys are probably used to saying in the mortar joints, but the mortar joints here are literally maybe a 1/4 inch. So there's no way you're never going to get into a brick area, but the mortar joint, obviously, we all know is the best way to be able to repair it properly. For facade signage in the horizontal areas and the dotted areas that say signage, the maximum height in that space is around 4 feet. I put this in here because awnings could be another opportunity for it, but there's a lot of weird angles. It would be a pretty talented person who can make an awning look proper there, but I put it in there for that. Projecting signs are noted on the more vertical spaces, lined up within piers in the upper floor or in the corner pier. It could be maxed out based on code and respecting the historic elements. It could be about 9 feet tall. 5 feet is a pretty good width that could be accomplished properly by a proper sign company without guide wires and other weird affectations. The city code, this honors the fact that the city code requires projecting signs over the sidewalk be 10 feet off the sidewalk. So to the left, section A is denoting what a projecting sign could do on that outside pier, missing that major capital. The section B is what it would look like if it was in one of the other areas. Similarly, on the west side, basically the same things I just mentioned. This is probably the original storefront, or at least the original configuration. It's still a wood storefront, 2 entries. The other one you might have noted had 3 entries, but again, it's a little funky. This denotes facade signage being able to be use vinyl graphics in the transom windows or appropriately affixed signage in front of the transom windows. And then you see the vertical sections for where projecting signs could be. One note isn't that awnings actually would look good and appropriate and easy to design for this side. Moving around to the back to the Bolivar entrance, we begin to have opportunities for the upper floor tenants, and there's still 2 ground floor tenants spaces on that. Those ground floor tenant spaces have individual entries on the outside, noted on the outside, those blue boxes, and then there is the rear entry into the lobby that also have doors inside. For ground floor businesses, you can see just basically the same nomenclature as facade signage and vertical elements lined up with piers to allow for some projecting signage aspects of it. It allows that get the signage a little bit above all the cars in the parking lot. And then on the upper floor, because I don't want to repeat myself about fasteners and stuff, on the parapet signage, there's already signage up here, so we're kind of following the same nomenclature here. Is painted signs that are primarily white with up to 2 accent colors. It specifies using breathable paint for masonry application. On this side, you have opportunities for 3 tenant signs that are up there, and that follows suit to what's currently there. The new aspect of this is the East 9th Street facade. I'll note that there's signage on that eastern ground floor tenant that wraps around the side, that there's still opportunity for signage there. There's currently awnings there. You really can't really get I wouldn't advise getting a projecting sign in there because it's actually an active alley. So trucks would probably clip it pretty often. But so here is the opportunity to wrap that parapet signage around this facade, allowing for 3 additional signage opportunities. One is proposed at a later application from Russilli. So this outlines that this continue that nomenclature around that side. And that concludes the signage aspect of it. Oh, let me make sure the notes at the bottom of this page are really important. At the parapet side, we want to make sure as you wrap that corner, as you can see in that lower, smaller picture of the future condition, that it matches in scale and the framing with the white. The last bullet is also important from the economic development standpoint. So I'll just read it. There are 6 parapet signage opportunities for tenants on the Bolivar and East 9th facade. This area is reserved for office tenants and a maximum of 2 ground floor tenants. There is a precedent, probably 15, 20 years ago, where the 2 ground floor tenants on the Bolivar side also had signage up on the parapet. So the desire of the property owner is to have that as opportunities as well. Moving to some fun stuff. Those of you who know this building and know this alley know that it is an active alley with trucks going on in it all the time, but it's also probably everyone in this room has probably walked down that alley on the way to a game or from a parking lot to a restaurant. And there's opportunities here in this space to kind of create some placemaking opportunities with graphics or murals. So we went ahead and identified areas within this lower facade that are common brick, denoted in the blue, and create opportunities for graphics that are either with breathable paint, heat applied vinyl, which you saw in a previous application today or an actual framed banner vinyl against the wall with all the caveats around penetrations and breathable paint. And this would be obviously at the behest and approval of the property owner at the time. And then the last thing is wanting to create some guidance on if at a future date, property owner wanted to do some architectural lighting on this fabulous facade. So it gives some guidelines about hiring a qualified architectural lighting designer, minimizing the scale with modern technology. The scale of lights aren't massive anymore, and then the caveats around penetrations into the building. And that is the master plan. So I'll take questions.
All right. Thank you very much for your very thorough presentation. Before we get to questions and comments from the commission, we will open up the floor for public comment. So is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak on behalf or against this particular project? Mr. Meadows.
Hi, good morning. Ian Meadows from Downtown Cleveland Incorporated, and I'm just speaking on behalf of DCI that we are in full support of everything presented this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meadows. Any other public comment? Seeing and hearing none, we will hear recommendations from the Design Review Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project was, as our applicants noted, reviewed in a few different stages. Originally, they came for signage on the parapet, and then the Greater Downtown Historic Design Review Advisory Committee had the discussion about having a master plan for the building. And so when they did come for the master plan that was recommended for the issuance of certificate of appropriateness by the committee, with the understanding that the parapet sign be framed white in the corners, which was done by the applicants. And so the committee had a lot of discussion about the kind of sign opportunities there, and noting that one note was that they'd like to see building lighting installed as well. And overall, very supportive.
Thank you. And landmark staff recommendations.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the master plan is great, and we'd love to see more buildings downtown throughout the city have this kind of master plan. So thank you to Mr. Bolton. It's great to provide that kind of guidance to future tenants and owners and our design review committees and landmarks commission. We always have concerns about painting unpainted brick, but understand the economic development needs, especially downtown. I think given that this is a non-primary facade, although it is a finished brick, you won't see it from Huron Road or the front of the building. So the parapet signage in the back doesn't impact that. We don't have any concerns about placement of signage on Huron Road or anything. Most of our discussion was around the parapet signage and just the extending that to the east elevation. But ultimately, I think the benefit outweighs the concerns we have given the use of breathable paint and the limitations placed on the colors and scale and all of that. So the hope would be that if the master plan is approved, then future tenant signage wouldn't have to go through our entire design review process, but we could have the local committee look at it and approve it without it having to come to the commission each and every time, assuming they met the guidelines that are laid out. I did want to note that Mr. Strinsky is a member of our Greater Downtown Historic Design Review Advisory Committee. When they came for their first presentation for the Russilli signage, as was noted, the committee tabled it and asked that a master signage plan be, developed. So as a member of the committee, Tom and I sat down with Mr. Bolton, and ultimately he ended up retaining his services. So Mr. Strinsky recused himself from the process at that point forward. But yeah, I think staff is supportive, and would recommend approval.
Great, thank you. Now we'll open up the floor to questions and comments from the commission. Who would like to start us off? Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Caxton Building is just such a fantastic building downtown and represents just the best in terms of historical structures that are just a wonderful amenity for the city. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Bill Bolton for well over 20 years and worked with him very successfully on some projects out in Brattonall, and actually considered being a tenant of the Caxton Building at one time. So Bill has been a wonderful steward and caretaker for this building for many, many years. And so I think whatever we can do to help support the financial viability of this wonderful historic structure, we need to support. So I'm very much in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate that you are putting together this plan so that you have a framework for the tenants, so they understand what they will need to do in the future. I have a question regarding applying paint to the brick surface, which we're always very reluctant to do. Have you explored anything like installing the heated vinyl that we were discussing in one of the other earlier projects?
To the chair, to Ms. Anderson, we had, it just didn't make sense. It's kind of an expensive endeavor just to paint it because of the lifts that are required to do it, but even more expensive to do the heat applied vinyl. And then it's every time a tenant changes, it becomes a little bit an exorbitant amount. And so with the breathable paint, I personally, not being a masonry expert, feel confident that the building will be appropriately protected.
Thank you.
I'll just ask a question on the heels of that. So with the existing sort of black band, have you noticed as you've added additional signage, any deterioration of brick or any concern or anything that might cause concern about the painting as it's sort of been in place to date?
The first time it was done, after about 2 years, some of it started flaking off, not the brick, but the paint. And we had bought the Sherwin-Williams recommended paint, and we had the research group come and take a look at it. And so when it was repainted, we used the Sherwin-Williams masonry paint. As you can tell from, well, that's a rendering, but if you've been by recently, it was done last year and it seems to have held up very well. So I can't say what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years, but we're certainly trying to use the best, most durable paint, which will be appropriate for the brick.
Appreciate that, and I'll continue with some of my comments. I want to echo Mr. Strickland and staff and the local committee commentary. This is a fantastic building. Kudos to the local design review advisory committee for suggesting the signage master plan. And this, I think, is a little bit more comprehensive than just a standard signage master plan. I think this is really setting the tone moving forward for, again, creating these guidelines. Every building in downtown should take advantage of that, just to make sure that there's a level of consistency with the building and how things are being handled. Also want to commend Mr. Bolton also on being an amazing steward of this building. You can't say the same thing about every single building downtown, or all of the projects that we get to have pure purview over. So thank you for doing what you've been doing over the course of your time with the building.
Thank you for your great comment.
And with that, I'm in full support of the package. So any other questions or comment, Mr. Sandberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'm going to echo everything everybody else said, but I do have a little bit of reluctancy to approve that the unpainted side of the parapet. I do think there's a little bit more brick detail there than there is on the rear of the building. And the painting would be an irreversible application to the building. So I do have some reluctancy there. I also wanted to ask if there's anything including the water tower as signage. I know that's where the building name is. Is that going to be part of the package, or is that left out as purely just?
I should make a joke about Budweiser, but in fact, no, it's got just Caxton Building on it.
Okay. And that's full intent for the future.
Yes.
Actually, a good point. I wonder if we shouldn't add something like do you always want it to be the Caxton Building moniker, or would you like to, should we create, I mean, it's an oversight, actually, I didn't think about that. Should we create some sort of expectation about, you get some real sassy tenant that really wants that and wants to rent a whole floor. So what do you do?
Well, I think, I suppose one shouldn't speak hastily in a public meeting, but I think that the constraints are, there's a physical constraint as to what the cost to maintain the water tower will be in the future. So I can envision a time when the cost might be so high that any owner would say, this isn't viable anymore. It's happened all over town. It happens that I like it, and I know probably everybody here likes it. So I'd be very reluctant to do something which required it to exist in perpetuity, even though I like it and I'm supporting it to be what it needs now. And the other thing is, as long as there are teams there, I feel the teams might have a use for it. So I'm not saying the building owner might want to change from Caxton Building, but I think I can envision complementary signage that an advertiser for the stadium might want. And I don't know how you deal with that, but that's just my first impression.
I guess I would just recommend including that in the overall package as a supplemental information or something.
Just because we're here and to get everybody's opinion, what would you recommend? What would you be thoughts for that? I mean,
I think there's precedent all over Cleveland.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just, we'll obviously the property owner will make their own decision, but I'm just curious, since we have this esteemed group here, I'd love to get opinions.
I think historically, water towers all over Cleveland, all over the country have been used as signage. I don't know how long this one's been in place, but I know they get replaced pretty often. So the original material is no longer there, but the structure is still there. I would be in support of just about anything for signage. I think that's pretty.
Let me be a little bit more pointed. On-site advertising or off-site advertising? Coca-Cola or?
Again, I think there's precedent currently in history for.
So you're open
both.
to it, okay.
My personal opinion, and open that to everybody else, but.
Anybody else?
I guess going along those lines.
This is Bob Strickland. I agree completely with that. There's, plenty of precedent. And so offsite or on-site advertising, I think would be fine.
And to tag on to that as well, each sort of signage, piece is taken separately. So at the time of changing it to something else, this body would review that as well in context with that particular application. So.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just to build on that point, though, I think one of the benefits of having a comprehensive master plan like this is to potentially reduce process for them as they are changing out tenants. And so I do like the recommendation that this body's adoption of the master plan signals alignment and would allow them to change out signage that is consistent with the master plan with just staff review. I mean, when we're talking about off versus on-premise advertising, then you start to pull in some zoning considerations. And I think anything that doesn't comply with signage in terms of zoning code would of course come back to this body for review and the official variance process. But would just put that before this body to sort of consider what line we are trying to draw in terms of permissive actions based on the comprehensiveness of the master plan and our consideration that it is appropriate.
Thank you, Director Mersman. Any other questions or comments? Or would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the signage plan as presented, including the sign band at the parapet on East 9th. And I think the presentation has been very comprehensive. So items like using mortar joints has already been addressed. So I don't think that needs to be an additional stipulation.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second with the request to Mr. Strickland, if he's comfortable with adding the additional provision that the adoption of this master plan signifies this commission's agreement that anything that is consistent with the master plan can be approved by staff without coming back to the commission.
Mr.
Yeah,
Strickland.
I agree to add that to the motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just one quick note on the purpose page, there is a sentence that's saying this was approved by Landmarks Commission, and I'm waiting for the date. And one other question. So with this motion, you're not requiring us to add a page about the water tower or not? That's up to us.
Would anyone like to?
I think it would be a good addition to the package.
All right. So an addition of consideration for the water tower signage as part of the
Sorry to mess up your motion,
overall,
Mr. Strickland.
overall package.
Yeah, no, so I can amend the motion to include that, not as a stipulation, but a consideration that the applicant consider adding the water tower as a supplement to the master plan.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Dr. Mersman, or Director Mersman? Great.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Mustin, please call roll.
And Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Director Mersman?
Yes.
Ms. Saban?
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Mr. Trasick?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
And Mr. Lozier?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously.
Great. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing the building continue to be an amazing presence in Cleveland.
By all means, come by and show you that.
Definitely, definitely.
Have a great day.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to our next application for case 26-058, St. Joseph Christian Life Center, Retreat House and Accessory Buildings, AKA Cunningham Sanitarium, Reserve Care, located at 18485 Lakeshore Boulevard, signage. We'll invite the applicant to please announce themselves and proceed with your presentation.
Hi, this is Brian Becker from Becker Signs, Inc. We're working on the main ground sign, identification ground sign for the Reserve Care Hospice, which was recently built and commissioned. This is a concept drawing that was included with the original architect's design package that was submitted and approved, and the building has been built, and things that are involved there are pretty much completed, and the building is open. We get next drawing, next slide, please. So this is what we've taken from that concept drawing and formed into a sign. Okay, using pretty much the same dimensions that the architect drew up. The building, the structure is a masonry base that would be built by the same general contractor that built the building. using the same materials, the same stone overlay, and that to match the building. The upper structure is an all aluminum structure that is coated with a Belgian wrap, architectural wrap, that is a light, almost white wood grain color. And the sign itself is an illuminated sign, internally illuminated, with the text and logo cut out from a solid face, so that only the graphics light up. It'd be the colors that are shown there. The official Reserve Care logo is in the upper right, and the Reserve Care blue from the logo is used for the letters. Note that the sign itself is just a little bit over 40 square feet. The structure is relatively large. Next slide. This just shows the construction of the sign, and how it's built and reinforced internally to mount to the masonry structure and keep everything solid. The electrical line has already been installed. That was installed as part of the original project as approved. And so we're just looking to build the sign up on top of the conduit coming up out of the ground. Next slide. We started the project in the winter, and so that's why the snow on the ground in the rendering. Basically that shows what the sign will look like on the property. The driveway to the property is in the lower, bottom of the picture, and it shows the location of the sign with the setbacks and dimensions there. And I think that's the last slide.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation. Before we move on to questions and comments from the commission, we will open up the floor for public comment. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak on behalf or against this particular case? Seeing and hearing none, we will hear recommendations from the Design Review Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The project was reviewed by the Greater Northeast Historic Design Review Advisory Committee on August 18th. At that time, they had no issues with the sign proposed, noting that it was appropriate sign for the site, and recommended the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you, Ms. Beam, and Landmark staff recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to note that the councilman's office has expressed support for this proposal. Also want to note that the signage does require variances since it is over 40 square feet and over 5 foot tall. So those are 2 variances that will be required. Staff is generally supportive. This is a site where there aren't any historic properties left. Essentially, the landmark buildings have been torn down and replaced with a very lovely hospice building. And I think staff's only comments would be that the proposed wood grain material, if that could more closely match the nice wooden, warm wood feel of the building itself, it might help to blend the signage in better with the new construction. The white is, I guess, just a bit jarring, and the rich tones of the building, I think, should really be brought forward to the street and into the signage. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Musson. Now we will open it up to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off? I guess I can start us off. Go ahead, Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like the applicant to respond to Secretary Musson's comments regarding the color of the painted elements.
Well, the wrap is available in several colors. The original architect's drawing showed white wood grain on the upper structure, but we can find a wrap that will more closely or very closely match the wood on the building.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in agreement that the sign overall is very nice, but I think the wood grain should be a warm match with the building. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other questions or comments? I will add mine. I'm in agreement. I think the changing the color to more closely match the building, I think makes a lot of sense. What I would also, I guess, recommend or ask as part of a motion would be to review final color selection with staff, as well as review of all the sort of final sort of materials, including the stone veneer and the vinyl wrap and all of that, just to make sure that there is sort of cohesiveness and consistency with what's being proposed. So I think those are my comments. I would also support the variance required as well. So any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion? Questions or, oh, Mr. Strickland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion to approve the sign as presented, including granting the variances for height and square footage of the sign, with the requirement that the final materials and color selection be submitted to the staff for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Mersman. Any further conversation? Ms. Anderson, you look like you.
Well, I guess I think I'd like the color to be warmer and more consistent to be included in the motion, if that's okay.
Is that okay, Mr. Strickland, to include?
Yeah, that's fine. Modify the motion to include as a recommendation in terms of color tone to be approved, a warmer color tone to be approved by staff.
All right, thank you, Mr. Strickland. Director Mersman, you in a
I concur.
All right, great. Any further conversation? Hearing none, Mr. Mustin, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Director Mersman?
Yes.
Ms. Saban?
Yes.
Mr. Sambry?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Jurassic?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Lozier?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing your project move forward.
Thank you much.
All right, we will now move on to our next case number, case number 26-059, Lorraine Avenue Historic District, Dara Tires located at 4227 Lorraine Avenue, signage.
Good morning. So I presented this last week and I think we didn't have quorum, so I don't know, did you want me to present it again?
Yes, and if you could please announce yourself for the record.
Sure. My name is Naz, last name is Abbas. I'm with Blink Signs.
Great, thank you. If you want to go ahead and move forward with the presentation.
Sure. So we're doing sorry, hang on a second. So we're doing aluminum panels, to be 3mm ACM panel. As you can see, the colors are white and we're flush mounted to the facade to the front of the business. Is there another page? I think that's it, right?
All right, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Before we move on to discussion, we'll open up the floor for public comment. Do we have anyone in the room or online to speak for or against this case? Seeing and hearing none, we'll hear recommendations from the Design Review Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on August 20th. At that time, the committee did not have quorum, but the committee members present did not state any issues with the sign proposed and noted that it should be mounted through mortar joints.
All right, thank you. And Landmark's staff recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, staff would recommend approval. It's a very simple sign. As long as it's mounted through the mortar joints, we see no issues with it. Really just here because we didn't have quorum with the local committee.
Gotcha. Thank you. And with that, we'll open it up to the floor for commission questions or comments. Who would like to start us off? I'll go, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I realize this is a legacy business and it's not necessarily conforming to what the direction Lorraine Avenue is going in. I realize that, the sign is functional. My concern is it doesn't do anything to really enhance the look of the street. We've approved we're going to probably approve a major apartment building across the street. And, I feel like there should be a little more care and deliberation in putting together a sign in this location. Those are my comments.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other questions or comments from the commission? I'll add mine. I think I'm in alignment with staff and locals' recommendations. I think it's a very sort of simple, direct sign. It does what it needs to do. I also appreciate Ms. Anderson's comments related to the development that is continuing to happen around this building and future development that will be happening directly across the street. I would appreciate if there was additional consideration for the signage. However, I feel okay with what's being presented here today. Any other questions or comments?
Just some feedback. I do appreciate your feedback on this. I did share that with the owner. But again, we got to keep in mind it's a small business. It's a daily pop and mom shop. So he kind of didn't even want to do a sign. So it's better to have this sign than nothing because right now I don't think he has anything.
All right. Thank you for the feedback there. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Or would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Sandberg?
I guess I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberg. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, I second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
No.
Director Mersman?
Yes.
Ms. Saban?
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Mr. Tresick?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
And Mr. Lozier?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes by a vote of 7-1.
All right. Thank you very much and
Very much.
look forward to seeing your signage move forward.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to our next case, case number 26-060 Ludlow Historic District located at 2988 Ludlow Road, demolition. If you can, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dennis Butler. I'm here with Jillian Bellino from Demolition Bureau. Thanks for hearing us today. I was just here a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to go through my whole introduction I did a couple of weeks ago. I just want to reiterate that despite the fact that we are from the Demolition Bureau, our answer to everything is not demolition. We work with people every day. I would say we spend more time working with people trying to pull properties out of condemnation than we do actually pursuing demolition on other properties. And we're here today to explain all the steps we took in trying to work with this homeowner, try to find some creative solutions toward something other than demolition at 2988 Ludlow, and why we believe demolition's appropriate for this property. So we're requesting a certificate of appropriateness in order to demolish. Can we go to the next slide, please? First slide. Oh.
I don't know how to use it. You got me.
A little delay. Okay. This is the property at 2988 Ludlow Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44120. It's a single family home. The lot size is approximately 53 feet by 126 feet. It sits on 0.153 acre. It's in Ward 3, and this is in the Buckeye Shaker Square neighborhood. As far as some background information, the owner of this property is Lamplight Acquisitions LLC, C owner since August of 2025. This was purchased at an auction by a former owner, 2988 Ludlow Road. Based on vacant property registration, Gloria Rose was the agent of 2988 Ludlow Road. The statutory agent for Lamplight Acquisitions is Cosmore Davis. As far as legal issues that stand between us and demolition, we have been cleared by the law department. We just need approval from Landmarks in order to move forward. This property was condemned in September of 2024. We've had 7 formal complaints in Acela since 2017. We haven't had to board up the property. It has remained secure. We've also received many direct complaints to our office that we've shared in our presentation or before our presentation. It's been vacant since at least 2023. Jacqueline Meredith, the former owner, died in August of 2017. The will was not found until October of 2024 when a probate case was reopened, and then a series of transfers began in 2025. The site location is situated on the southwest side of Ludlow Road, where Corby Road and Ludlow merge. South of Woodland Road, Shaker Heights border is 6 houses southeast. The adjacent uses, this is a single family residential neighborhood, so single family houses on each side. The Shaker Heights border is shown in red. So into the exterior photos, yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'll take over. I was able to get into the property about a month ago, and from the exterior, it doesn't look that bad. There are some rooms in the house that don't look that bad either, but we'll just go through them and I'll try to detail what I saw in each room. So this is the front and the rear. It is really overgrown, and there is a garage that is collapsing. I can't remember if I have a photo of the garage.
If anybody would like me to slow down, please just.
There are multiple holes in the roof. You can't really see them from the exterior. This house is very tall. It has a full 3rd floor. It did just look, the house is 2,200 square foot, so it's really large. It feels actually larger when you're in it. So it was very difficult to see any of the holes in the roof because of the height of the roof and because of all of the trees that were surrounding the structure. So this is the inside. Some of them are a little dark because it's really dark because of said trees. So you can see the dining room and the living room are not in the best shape, but they're in decent shape compared to some of the, compared to specifically the kitchen. Go ahead. The room on the side addition, so this is on the northwest side of the house. There isn't a foundation under this section of the house. I noticed it when we were at a site visit for the Landmarks Commission. I don't even know what is under here. I didn't go this far back into the basement. The basement was very dark. And so there is a siding missing from this addition, and I do believe that's what's causing the water to get in. Again, I didn't notice it until our second site visit. It's really, really hard because I'm trying not to go on other people's properties to look at this. So, it was just missed the first time that we were there. And that door goes to the rear yard. And then again, just a photo from the living room from a different perspective. This is the kitchen. The kitchen looks like it had a fire, but I think that it's just mold. The door in the photo on the right, that whole floor is like completely collapsed. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a closet or something. I didn't walk too far over, but there has been significant damage done in the kitchen. Makes me think that it's been vacant for longer than 3 years, even though we are fairly certain that it has been vacant at least 3 years. Go ahead. Yeah, these other angles of the kitchen. It was really dark, so tried to brighten these up for you guys. I do believe that there is some water damage happening here, but I don't know what the origination of that water damage is. It's really difficult to tell. Right above this is the bathroom. We'll get to that in a minute. These are just some pictures in the basement. It was really dark. I didn't go very far. I don't have a great nose. I can't smell very well, so I didn't smell anything like dampness or anything. So probably not the best to attest to any water infiltration in the basement. And photos. So when I walked upstairs, I didn't expect to see that the floor landing had started to dip. I would say it's about 4 inches. Does this have a little laser? Did I scare you, Dennis? Jumped back. I doesn't have a laser. I'll get up. It's fine. Okay. Can we go back?
Yeah.
Yeah, the floor is down there. I'm not sure what's doing down there. But it is pretty significant. It's visually obvious when you walk up the stairs. So these were the first steps I took. I was nervous to walk on the landing. I'm generally not that nervous, but this one made me a bit nervous. Because that was there, I didn't get to go into the bathroom, so I can only assume that the bathroom goes to maybe there. I didn't look into there. I walked back down after I saw this because I was nervous. Got up the courage to go back up and kind of walk all the way around to see some of the bedrooms. Bedroom here, right from there, and then the bedroom in this corner. This is the stairwell to the attic. So I do not have a good photograph of the bathroom. Again, you can kind of see from which side the sunk. It's hard to tell where that leak is coming from. I situate myself bathroom upstairs. Don't get the lights. This is the first bedroom. So there's some water. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm surprised you can't. I'm so nauseous. So this is just the first floor, one of the bedrooms on the second floor. This is one of the other bedrooms. This is actually the second and the third bedrooms on the second floor, rather. And then I got up the courage to go up the stairwell to the third floor. The best way I can describe going up the stairwell is it's a little bit like being in a fun house because it dips inward. It dips inward this way towards where you see the floor dipping. And that on the right photo, that I do believe that crack is from the failing of whatever is failing. I did not feel like the floor was dipping on the first floor. That dip begins on the second floor and then is also beginning to pull the third floor down as well. So in the left-hand corner, you can't really see the daylight. I was able to see it when I was there, but there is daylight coming through that wall. This is the third floor. Like I said, this house is pretty big. I believe the purple room is right when you get to the top of the stairs. And this attic room is to the left. And then there is, this is the same room that was to the left. This room is in the room filled with debris is in the back of the house. I could not get in further than that. It was filled with debris. And then there are, in this yellow orangey room, there is obviously some water issues there. And then there's also water issues in the corner, which are in a second photograph. So we do know based on testimony from the neighbor from the multiple neighbors that there has been significant lack of care given to this. So there's the bathroom on the second floor. Can't remember if I saw a bathtub in it. I think there might have been one behind the door, but I couldn't get the door open further enough. So we do know that there's been a significant, the house hasn't been maintained for some time. We don't even know who was residing in the home between 2017 and 2023. Uncertain. I think you can go to the next one. I will say a little bit about this. So I did do a lot of Google searches for Cosmore Davis and her Lamplight Acquisitions LLC. She has other properties in like Oakwood Village, Garfield Heights, and Euclid. So I did search, their public records to see if I could find anything, like any contact information for her there. I did not. And then we also, in doing some research, because it's owned in an LLC, we're looking for information for the LLC. So I did do some further research and found her home address in Garfield Heights. And I reached out with an informal letter because we weren't able to find like an email address or a phone number. So I actually sent her just regular mail USPS to her address saying, please call us. This is condemned. And we did not hear back. So we have other more formal attempts made. And let's see here. We do know that she buys and sells properties based on her LLC. She recently sold one in Euclid, I think it was. I've been doing some digging as this continues. And she doesn't often invest in Cleveland. So this is maybe one of her first or only properties that she's invested in Cleveland. I'll let Dennis pick up from here.
Yeah, I mean, we usually scout for any information we can find on Lamplight Acquisition.
She does exist. We know that.
We know that she exists, but if they're out there, and the phone numbers and addresses that were provided to us, we contacted all of them. We're successful. We made extensive efforts to locate Cosmore Davis at Lamplight Acquisitions. Were not successful. Ms. Davis did introduce herself to the next door neighbor shortly after the purchase of the house, which was surprising to hear. However, she refused to provide any of her contact information, which is odd. She is local, purchases houses, usually not in Cleveland. I think that's everything there. I just wanted to quickly speak to the evaluation standards for the Landmark Commission. The first two sort of go hand in hand: the architectural and historic significance of the subject building or structure, and the significance of the building or structure in contributing to the architectural historic character of its environs. We're not thrilled or super happy about having to demolish this property. It's really a beautiful house, and if it were rehabbed, I mean, it would be wonderful. On the other hand, there are several other landmark houses in, close proximity And all of them are kind of threatened by this one property that's bringing them all down. And one of the reasons we did bring this particular property to the Landmarks Commission and ask for clearance to demolish is because of the outcry of the neighbors. You'll see in the rest of our presentation in the public comment how much the neighbor, like the surrounding community, has they've gone to great lengths to notify us or to they visited us at the property. We received several letters in support of demolishing this particular property. C doesn't apply. This is in the case of moving a building, which we are not. And then D, E, and F are all somewhat related. The present and potential economic viability of the subject building or structure, given its physical condition and marketability. Its physical condition is terrible, as you've seen in the pictures. And we also believe that the cost it would take to restore this home to its former glory it just wouldn't be viable in what it might return in a sale. E, if the demolition will remedy conditions imminently dangerous to life, health, or property as determined in writing by the Department of Building and Housing, Division of Fire, Department of Public Health. This is actually just clearly stated by the condemnation notice that this is an imminent danger to life, health, or property, and demolishing this property will abate that nuisance. F is the appropriateness of the proposed new structure use and the impact on the surrounding community. We don't have a new structure that we're proposing. Our proposal is to demolish the property, grade it, plant seed and straw, and have a vacant lot, grass lot. Again, not our preference or our number one choice, but being as we don't think it's going to be viable to rehab this property, the vacant grass lot would be have a much more positive impact on the surrounding community than the house as it stands today. And I believe that the surrounding community would be in strong favor of a grass lot versus this building. These are all of the neighbors that have reached out, and we did forward their comments to the Landmarks Commission. The Ludlow Community Association, John Timko of 3069 Ludlow, Liam Bailey of 3150 Ludlow, Nikki Rakert at 3058 Van Aken Boulevard, Marika Emerson, Dioro and family, which live right next door with a 6-month-old son at 2994 Ludlow. She's been kind of spearheading the effort, being as she lives next door. This is more of a problem for her than most of these people. Eva Love, 3106 Ludlow Road, Tristan Wright, 14407 Onaway Road, Meg Hennessy, Onaway and Seaber, Danielle Stewart of 13519 Corby Road, Gwendolyn Chapman of 13702 Corby Road, Ellen Lazarus of 14401 Onaway Road, Susan Rotarian family of 3169 Ludlow, Cynthia Labord Manning, Craig Manning and Corbin Manning at 3024 Ludlow, Evelyn Callahan at 13415 Shaker, and Katie Clark at 3150 Ludlow Road. These are the letters that we've received. I believe that they've been submitted to the Landmarks Commission for review, so I'll just kind of go through them quickly. And we may have some people that have showed up for public comment, but I'm not sure.
The community responses were spearheaded by the neighbor, Rita Rivera. She created a Microsoft form for everybody to respond.
The letter that she submitted has quite a history. If anybody would like to know more about the details of the history of this property from her point of view. Just to speak quickly to the site plan and finish, I already sort of mentioned, but our request for approval is to demolish the structure, remove all foundation and subgrade material, level the site with clean backfill, topsoil, seed, and straw. To the right is a photo of the crumbling garage. The garage is nearly demolished already. And we've received complaints from the neighbor in the back that it's actually pushing on their fence. I don't know if that's still an issue for them, but the garage is actually like physically threatening the neighbor next door. Just to wrap up, thank you for hearing us. We've made several attempts to contact Ms. Davis and we've just not been successful. We checked this morning. There haven't been any permits applied for, so no progress has been made. And the property has not even been registered as vacant. We continue to receive complaints, and our recommendation is demolition. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Before we get to questions and comments from the commission, we will open up the floor to public comment. So is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak on behalf of this case? Hearing and seeing none, we'll hear recommendations from the Design Review Advisory Committee. Sorry. Summary of public comment that we received. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in addition to the community comments that our applicants, Demolition Bureau has provided, our office did receive a letter in support of the demolition from the board of the Ludlow Community Association. I believe the same letter was sent to demolition, so was included twice in their packet as well as in our public comment. But just to note, they did state that they had strong support of demolition of the structure. Despite being in a landmark district, the status of the property has degraded beyond recovery and repair. Unfortunately, demolition is the best option for the immediate neighbors as well as the whole community. They did note that beyond the assessed risk and risk of health and life the structure presents in the form of rotting materials and collapse, the restoration of the structure represents stupendous financial burden to any stakeholder interested in preserving it simply because of its existence in a landmark district. Noting that the building's been vacant and unattended for at least 10 years. And so they did strongly urge the demolition department to demolish the property despite being located in a landmark district.
All right. Now, Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this project was reviewed by the Greater Cuyahoga Valley Historic Design Review Advisory Committee on August 18th. There was a lot of discussion that mirrored a lot of this body's discussion at our previous meeting for a different demolition project that was proposed. A lot of it was back and forth with our applicants on the process for the Demolition Bureau to get a property, the process possible tools beyond demolition, city authority to demo condemned structures and like that process on ownership and titles and foreclosure, kind of having all of that process discussion again with this committee. They did note that it is one of the better designed homes on the street, but also when it was occupied, it was still open to the elements in a few locations. They did note that the time to act was 2012. 2013, when the current owner was not, the previous owner was not caring for the home. And with all of that discussion, kind of wanting to see if there's any remedies or other ways that we can help support or keep an eye on these potential demolished properties. And so kind of continuing that conversation that we had previously about working better with our Demolition Bureau and kind of having those city conversations about demolitions. Overall, they did recommend the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness with a vote of 6-1.
All right, thank you. And Landmark staff recommendations.
Before we get into our recommendations, Carl's going to give us a brief history of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was constructed in 1925 by John Glover. The building permit did not list an architect. And you can see that they were trying to sell it for $30,000 at that time. But if you adjust that for inflation, it's about $573,000. But this has a nice description of everything that was in the house at that time. Apparently, the house did not sell. It was foreclosed on and sold through sheriff's sale. Finally ending up with the Johnsons later in 1926.
transferred again, and then house is about a decade old when it was acquired by Joseph and Edith Weinberg. Weinberg lived with two sisters and a brother after the death of their father. Although their mother was still alive, she was unable to care for them, so they were placed at the Jewish Orphan Asylum. About 5 years later, mother and children were reunited. He graduated from Central High School and earned his architecture degree from Harvard University. After a brief stint in the Army Signal Corps, he opened his own practice in Cleveland. He designed commercial structures primarily, and so far no examples of his early work remain. In 1923, he teamed up with Charles Morris in a new firm, which lasted until Morris died in 1930. Again, most of the buildings from this firm have been lost, but most notably still standing are the buildings they designed for the Jewish Orphan Asylum's new home, which now is currently known as Belfair JCB on Fairmount Boulevard. In 1929, he became a faculty member at Western Reserve University School of Architecture, serving until 1941, and a member of the faculty at John Huntington Polytechnic Institute from 1930 to 1940. The 1930s were a time of urban renewal during the Great Depression. Weinberg teamed with the firm of William Conrad and Wallace Tier on multiple projects. The model plan for St. Vincent Center was 2 decades ahead of the work being done there. This team was best known for designing Lakeview Terrace, the third urban redevelopment housing project in the country. This decade also saw changes in his personal life as he got married and had 2 children. World War II, the 1940s, saw service for the War Department for the duration of the conflict. The end of the decade saw him team up again with Wallace Tier, which would be last in various forms for the rest of his life. The company designed large-scale private and public buildings. These are dotted throughout Northeast Ohio and the U.S. They were the associate architects with Edward. Oops, gotta do that. There we go. They were associate architects with Edward Gurrell Stone for the Jewish Federation building in 1965, for which their new partner Donald Fisher joined them. In the latter years, the firm specialized in nonprofit housing for the elderly. One of these projects, they returned to their roots and designed the Lakeview Terrace Senior Apartment Building. When Weinberg died in 1977, he was one of the oldest practicing architects in the nation. After Weinberg sold the property, there were 7 more sales until it was acquired by Jacqueline Meredith in 1990. After her death in 2017, taxes started accruing and deterioration was unchecked. The property transferred between a couple of different LLCs in 2025, as noted by our colleagues. Site visit was conducted. We were not able to access the interior of the home, and we've seen much of these images. Similarly, you can see some of the damage. Collapsed. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brunges. Anything else from the Mark staff?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, as Mr. Brown just said, site visit, we weren't able to get into the interior, so we were only able to observe the exterior. Also wanted to note that Demolition Bureau did receive a lot of public comment, which you guys saw beforehand. And, we're just, I guess, really saddened to see such a stately property deteriorate over the past decade plus. Even before it seems like it was vacant, it seems like its condition was beginning to deteriorate. It also seems like another, case of an owner not wanting to be found, which is always a struggle. And, I guess just wanted to note, as came up in our last meeting, Landmark staff is working with building and housing and the inspectors and the director to work on intervening on these types of properties earlier, with big citations that don't end in condemnation and demolition, but hopefully create a financial incentive for owners to take action on their property before they get to this kind of condition.
All right, thank you, Mr. Musson. Now we'll open it up to the commission for questions and comments. Who would like to start us off?
I would, Chair.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Gray?
Hello, everybody. I'm not going to be redundant from what everything that building housing had already spoke on. From what my knowledge is, that has been going on when I became council. So I was called in onto this property 4 years ago, and it has been a headache to the residents in that community. So unfortunately, I had never been inside the property either. The first time I'm seeing the pictures today, but to say the least, all the residents that's on that list had called me in the first 4 years about the property, been trying to get in touch with the owner and also the real estate agency who took it over to co-partner with the owner, which is, well, not the owner, which co-partnered with Gloria Rose. And Gloria Rose is the one that had been emailing me trying to get the property renovated. But that was, that fell through because it was too much. But to say the least, I agree with the residents. They live in that particular neighborhood, even though I'm the council of the ward, and they have attempted to try to do everything they could possibly, hopefully to see if it could be saved, but it's out of their hands. So they just went to the next step with building housing and also with the landmark stuff. So to this, I do support the demolition. Unfortunately, in that beautiful neighborhood, we know that we try to save homes instead of taking them out because of the history of the community, and it's absolutely beautiful and maintained. But unfortunately, due to the lack of the attention and service to this house that has not been maintained, I do agree with the demolition process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gray. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Over the years, we see a lot of these cases where we have these wonderful architecturally significant homes in historic areas. And often the case is they've been sitting vacant for years, maybe over a decade. They've accumulated, tens of thousands of dollars in back taxes. The, owner who died years ago was intestate, and there's, nobody we can trace. It's not the situation here. The property was on the market a year ago. Would have been available to be viewed, and at that time it was sold. The taxes were paid off, and I realize it's frustrating trying to get a hold of these people, but at the same time, I think these people are afraid to deal with the city, and I'm not quite sure. I've actually talked to friends of mine in the nonprofit community, and they're not quite sure how to, to interface with the people that own these places, who are, basically hiding because, they're afraid they're going to get in trouble, which they kind of are. But at the same time, the problem is that we have these, what probably could have been a wonderful house at one time. And I think there were opportunities to intercede here earlier. And, it didn't happen. And, we see this all too often. What was at the last meeting? There was one of these. It's way too frustrating to continue to see. This would be like the only missing tooth in that area. Everything else pretty much is intact. And, we need to see these long before they're falling into the ground. We can't continue like this. We don't. It doesn't come to landmarks until it's a crisis and it needs to be torn down. There's got to be things in your pipeline that are still at a point where they can be salvaged, and we address them you know, at year 5 instead of year 10, or, you know, and this one has been sitting there for 9 years. And again, more importantly, it was actually on the market a year ago. You know, something could have been interceded then. There's an agent who worked with the buyer a year ago. You know, has anybody tried to contact them? Maybe they could be a go-between, you know. I mean, they represented that buyer. They have a relationship with the buyer. A go-between, so there can at least be like, hey, communication. There's gotta be a way to make these things, you know, just not disappear from our landscape because of the bureaucracy. It's just way too frustrating.
We did contact the former owner, Gloria Rose, for contact information for their current owner, and she did not have it.
And I hear your frustration. I do. I don't disagree with you. I also didn't come to make excuses or say this isn't my job or things like that. But I do want to offer a couple things. I've been in my position a few months. A lot of these things we talk about that are years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I from a practical standpoint, I have no control over those things. But I'm committed to working with Landmarks Committee in the city, any city department going forward. My door is open. You can email me, you can call me. I've worked with Councilman Gray in the past. You know, she'll tell you, I will call you back. I will work with you for a solution. The other part of this is that I am the manager of the Demolition Bureau. Jillian's from the Demolition Bureau. Our specialty is demolition. We don't touch these. We don't receive a file. We don't receive a request until we have a condemned property that the city, some city department or some council office or neighbors want it demolished. And so we move toward demolition. So this may have to come from a different city department if we're talking about interceding on an earlier step. That's just not, that's not where we act. That's not where we work every day. Again, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm also trying to point out, like, physically, mechanically, how we would do it. Like, how would this work? And I'm committed to working going forward. The Department of Building and Housing has assigned Michael Shockley, Inspector Shockley. He's kind of famous around City Hall. He is going to be working on landmark buildings specifically and writing violation notices regarding landmarks specifically. So we are trying to take steps in that direction. We're talking with the law department about salvage options. So it's turned into sort of a sticky conversation, but we're having the conversation. We're trying to come up with some solutions where maybe if we can't save the building, maybe we can salvage some of these, you know, cool features out of it, if that's a possibility. I'm open to any discussion, and I good faith, I commit to you that I will do whatever I can, but it's a real challenge for our department to, as far as like bringing it to landmarks before it gets to this point, we'd have to engage a different department. And then, and usually that's going like through the city council in order to get funding, or, I mean, we come to get clearance to demolish. So as far as working before that point, I'll do what I can to look into it. I really will. But I am also frustrated at my the amount of control that I personally have, and my department has. But we have relayed these concerns to the Director of Building and Housing. She's committed to doing whatever we can. I guess I'm also curious of what exactly is the suggestion? Like,
well, and given your position, I mean, you're there to demolish the properties once they're, you know, in a state where they, you know, they pretty much are being written off. But somewhere in the city, there is no mechanism. There really doesn't appear to be a mechanism to intercede before we get to you. You know,
We prosecute
yeah, or
things along those lines.
I don't even want to say prosecute. You know, I think there needs to be some sort of an ombudsman to interact with property owners like this one. Because I think they you know, get notifications, violations, tickets, and they just kind of go into hiding. They retreat, and it's counterproductive. You know, it may be this person paid a lot of money for this house. It may be better for her to, you know, try to sell it at a discount rather than have a demolition lien plus accumulated taxes on it. You know, but there's nobody there there was nobody there to speak to them. There's nobody there to interface with them.
We try very, very hard to contact people.
I'm sure you.
And we contact them, we give them a chance, and they burn us. Then even after they burn us, we say, what is going on? We need you to do something. And they burn us again. And then they sell it. And then we start all over.
And they probably should be, and I'm not quite sure how to do this. I mean, there used to be a time when, you know, you have the neighborhood organization, you might have a housing specialist or something. And, you know, those days are gone. So, I'm not quite sure how to interact with these people, but what we have, the system we have is not working. It just isn't.
I hear you, and I hear your frustration. I share your frustration.
And, you know, I think continuing like, oh, we're going to ticket them. That doesn't seem to, that doesn't seem to be keeping these buildings.
So I'm gonna suggest that we move on to Dr. Williams for her comments. Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to begin by saying that when I listened to Councilmember Gray and when I listened to Ms. Anderson and review the correspondence from the residents in the Ludlow community, I hear frustration. I read about frustration, but I also hear something that suggests that there is care and concern about what happens in Ludlow. And I'm saying this as a historian, and I live close enough to the area to know it well because I'm on Larchmere. That's where I reside, and I walk to Shaker Square, and I know something about the history of the Ludlow community and the efforts on the part of residents beginning in the 1950s to really keep Ludlow as a stable community, to work against, push back against white flight, to make sure that it was a community that was warm and welcoming to all people, regardless of race and ethnicity. I don't think it's unusual to hear in the history, for example, that Mr. Brunges presented, that a longtime owner was Jewish, because Shaker Heights and these borderlands like Ludlow have a history, again, of welcoming people who might have probably experienced a sense of not being welcome in certain communities, even within Cleveland proper. So I say that to say this is not an unknown community. I know that Shelley Stokes Hammond, historian, has written about Ludlow. The Cleveland Restoration Society has been concerned about what's happening in Ludlow. I know Councilmember Gray, as she's provided the evidence to show that she's concerned about addressing those issues that are called to her attention by residents in that community. But like Ms. Anderson said, if there's nobody standing in the gap, who's not an elected official, who doesn't represent the city, who perhaps appears to be threatening to whoever owns the property, if there is no ombudsperson, then is there a way for us to get somebody like that in the middle, to find some common ground, some neutral ground where there can be a conversation. Would it be appropriate to reach out to the Cleveland Restoration Society? I don't know. I don't have answers, just questions right now, but I think I also heard somebody say it's a stately home. And that was my opinion. I'm not in real estate, but when I saw the first images, it appears to be a stately home. People invested in creating a home that was attractive. And it looked like at one time it was really one that people cared a lot about. I'm even looking at the colors, the purple bedroom, and all of that suggests to me, chandelier, that people cared about that home. Is there anything else short of demolition? And I don't want to use this term demolition by neglect because I don't think it's quite gone. But before we knock it over, is there anyone else? I'm speaking now to our colleagues in who are asking for the permission for the demolition. Anyone else that we can speak with or hear from at this point in time to address the concerns that the residents have raised and perhaps to find this owner? I don't know how owners just disappear after they buy property, but is there anyone else? And I'll mute the microphone and listen for your answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Can I respond?
Yep.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I agree 100%. I think this is a stately home. Absolutely. That also might contribute to the difficulty of rehabbing it. This is not a matter of putting siding up on a home. I mean, the fact that there's probably a structural problem in the home, and because it was such a stately home, to bring it back to its former glory, I think it would be a tremendous expense. And possibly, I don't know this, but this possibly might be what Cosmore Davis discovered after buying the home, that fixing it up was not going to be as financially feasible as she thought when she purchased it. I would just offer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mersman.
Thank you. I appreciate all of the conversation about systemic flaws and cracks that is our collective responsibility to work on. And from the Planning Commission side, which also sees a lot of demolition requests, I think there's a lot of interest in working through the city across departments to protect our historic built environment as much as possible. Economic viability is one of the items in both Planning Commission and Landmarks Commission code. And I think that's sort of an undercurrent of some of the conversation and commentary here. I did hear Councilwoman Gray say that the previous owner had tried to rehab and had sort of investigated the feasibility of that, had tried to market the building. And I think that type of information is something that is very helpful for commission members to hear and understand, that it is not just one owner holding the property close to the vest so that it deteriorates over time, or that it's sort of locked in with one person that we can't find, but that there has been opportunity and openness for others to step in to potentially rescue the building. It sounds like, although we don't have that explicitly laid out for this property, that this did occur under a past property owner. So just as that information is available or known in future cases, I think that is really helpful to be aware of. It is a stately and beautiful home, and it's hard to let it go. I guess I would hope, given the stability and closeness of the community, that perhaps vacant land could become something new in this area, and that this is an unfortunate passing of the history. I appreciate sort of the remarks, Carl, to celebrate it for what it has been.
All right, thank you, Director Mersman. So I struggle with all of these, but this one in particular I'm also struggling with. And I really appreciate Mr. Butler, your commentary. I know that, I think we're all sort of have a level of frustration around the process by which properties get to this point. And I think we need to be doing more as a city, to get ahead of these things or provide other opportunities for passing this property on to others who are more engaged or willing to be more engaged. One of the things that we talked about in our last meeting was the city land banks getting involved with one of the two properties that we had seen. Has there been any conversation with land bank to be a go-between in this case? Can there be, are there other opportunities that we can investigate in the short term to figure out a way to save this property? A comment was made that sorry, I'm sort of speaking whatever. I really appreciate the community coming together and addressing and noting this as a challenge within the neighborhood, within the community. And I don't want to discount that commentary, but the challenge here is that a comment was made that this is a much more positive impact on the community if this was torn down. I would say that this property would be have a much more positive impact on the community if it was saved and would be an owner occupied home. So, what are some of those other opportunities that we haven't been investigating or that we can investigate? And if there's anything, happening behind the scenes to reconsider some of these processes before we get to this point. I really appreciate, Dr. Williams, your commentary about the history of this community being welcoming and the pride that this community has and has had in its history to sort of become a landmark district. And I appreciate your comments also about, is there another intermediary that we can maybe call upon to try to get in touch with this particular owner? Cleveland Restoration Society, maybe that's an opportunity there. Other potential stakeholders, maybe there's an opportunity there. I think the other thing that's unique about this particular project, this particular building, is that it was sold a year ago. It hasn't been. While it's been vacant for a long time, it was on the market and it did sell. Does that mean that there's still an appetite for someone to come in and purchase this building, purchase the structure? I don't know. We haven't given that the opportunity. I think that there's other avenues that need to be looked at before we make a final determination today. Mr. Sandberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think everybody's gone pretty deep in the systemic issues, but to bring it back to this building, we've seen a couple of these, and I think the things that I'm hearing a lot of potential problems with the building, but there's things that we hear in all these other demolitions that I'm not hearing here. There's nobody living in it illegally. There's no pest issues. From the outside, it's unsightly because of plant overgrowth and the lawn's been unkept. But structurally, it's an issue on the inside. There's no imminent falling debris from the outside of the house. The garage, yes. Is there a middle where the city can step in? I assume you have to demo the trees, remove trees to get to the house first. Is there a way that some of those funds can be directed towards cleaning up the property overall, removing some of the trees that may be damaging the house, or other issues that could be, is there other mediation with the demo permit that could be addressed without addressing the main structure?
Not through the demo permit. Public Works,
even think public
I don't
works
even,
would
yeah,
clear debris or to clear landscape debris.
not that I know of. And not through the demo permit. I mean, the demo permit is to demolish the property.
It's the entire property. There's no, you can just demo the garage, take care of the major issues there, and then leave the main structure.
We could probably demo the garage. It's really narrow and tight.
I mean, that sounds like from the neighbors that is a major issue. The house maybe not the primary issue. Could we address the really big issues now while maintaining the overall structure for, could we push that down the road?
I could speak to the law department about that. That would be a law department question, I guess. I don't know. I mean, and our other challenge is kind of is funding. So one of our practical considerations each and every day is funding. We will pull up 2 photos of 2 houses and say, well, which one are we sending next? Like, what are we going to use our funds for? I don't know if it's going to make sense to partially demolish this one instead of demolishing a house elsewhere. That would be another project. So, I mean, you got me. I mean, I didn't come in here considering maybe demolishing the garage and not the house. That's a tough one. I guess my short answer, and I don't mean to be flippant or dismissive, that wouldn't be a priority for us considering the priorities that we do have. When we have awful structures in the middle of neighborhoods all over the place, and if the house will remain standing in its deteriorated condition, coming in to just do the garage, I don't know if that's going to be the best use of our funds. But so I'm sorry I don't have a great answer for you on that, but
No, it's good for us to understand that.
yeah, I think that's where we are with that.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberg.
Can I jump back in?
Yep, go ahead.
Chair, I just want to say this. I live in that neighborhood as well as being a council. And you have to understand the residents that live in that community, they actually have empathy and compassion for all the homes that's in that neighborhood. They don't want homes, demolished. They don't want to see a empty partial in any community. I mean, it's deteriorating, and it makes us look, unfortunately, into like a worse neighborhood when you have more partials than none. The residents, the homeowners that have been in that neighborhood 50, 60 years, understand the problematic if this house is demolished. But to their dismay of what they've been dealing with for so long with this property, no one has come forward to attempt to try to restore it, because that's a historical neighborhood. Now, like I said earlier, I had a conversation with Gloria Rose, who emailed me constantly in my first 4 years. I even sent those emails to Director O'Toole, so she can reach out to Gloria Rose, who live in the neighborhood, who's co-partnered with the real estate company to try to restore this home. And I met with one of the contractors, the property manager, who was partnered with the real estate agency, that he was coming to the home to try to restore it. And I had a conversation with him. I see Gloria Rose in the Ludlow meetings, and they did everything they possibly could to attempt to restore this property, but there's no funding. You need money. You need funding to restore property. I guess they ran out of that funding. It was not enough. So then they disappeared. They disappeared. This house also was part of private properties that Director O'Toole and her code enforcers be discussing every 2 weeks. And it was on the list for the longest as well, I believe. And then also you have the Ludlow Committee that also have meetings that discuss their properties and call me in. Due to the fact that there's no funding. And I know Ms. Williams brought up Heritage, Heritage Home. There's no funding. Council fund Heritage Homes. They are contracted with a bank, so the owner can get a loan from the bank to restore their home. They have no funding to restore homes because they get their funding through the council. And if that doesn't happen, and if they apply for the funding through the bank that they are partnered with, council is not part of that. So they still have to apply for that funding. If you can't find the owner to this property, it's going to continue to deteriorate over time. Believe you me, the residents in that neighborhood didn't want this property to be taken down. But they worked with us. They worked with me. They worked with building housing. They called in the landmark. They worked with everyone. So the house is beautiful. When I first came council the first 4 years, it was somebody living in that house. I met him. He came out and we spoke from time to time. He wasn't doing anything in the property. I didn't know if he lived there or not. I didn't know if he was a squatter. But he came out and spoke to me every time I went to the house with complaints from the homeowners in that neighborhood. And then all of a sudden he disappeared. A car was left in the driveway. That eventually got towed out because it had deteriorated and it was just sitting there prior to the inspector who went to the property to find out what was going on with the property. And as Mr. Butler stated, the homeowners that live on the next street, which is Caswick, they have called many a times on a complaint in the house because the garage was leaning up against their fence and has damaged their fence. And I got involved with them because they were trying to find out who is the owner of the property. So these homeowners in that neighbor, they were working to try to find out who can save this property. So they've been dealing with this before I came in council. I've been dealing with it for the 5 years. And everyone's been trying to do the best of their, due diligence to not tear down this historical house in this historical neighborhood. No one wants their homes tore down. No one wants their neighborhood to look like a jigsaw puzzle. But unfortunately, if these owners do not show up through this entire process, and that is the code enforcer that you're asking, who is this person in between that's supposed to help along with that? That's your code enforcer, I believe, right, Mr. Butler?
I think the suggestion was somebody other than code enforcement.
Somebody
I
other
mean,
than
I
code
believe
enforcement.
if that's what I
Okay,
heard. But,
okay, so you had to
but
do
that is, yeah, that's
that is your connector to the director. That's your connector with building housing. That's your connector with the council person. So I went through all the steps. The homeowners are patiently waiting for this house to be established. But at the end of the day, I don't have any more answers as a council person. I only could do so much as a council person, but there's no funding because the real estate company even attempt to do what they needed to do, and they suddenly disappeared. So we came and find them. So just to say the least, I'm still giving my comment and my suggestion. And I'm here to support the residents because we had a long conversation over the last 4.5 years. I've been listening to them. We've been working with them, but we cannot find the owner because the owner have to apply for everything. everything. No one else can do it but the owner. And if the owner don't give permission to the real estate broker or to partners or to whatever, can nobody move forward to do anything to this home. So I'm just giving me, I'm here to understand, but I'm here to support the residents who now made their final decision that this house has become a nuisance in the neighborhood, and they regret it too, but they can't do anything else without the owner showing up to help them save that owner's property. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gray.
Can I just respond really quickly, really fast? Thank you, Councilmember Gray. And I do understand, I just hearing all of this, I just wanted to offer, and I mentioned this earlier, but I did want to offer that this one is a sad story. And when we have an owner that doesn't want to be found, it's very challenging. But I do want to stress that we work with, and Jillian will back me up on this, we work with a line of people coming into the Demolition Bureau every day, half a dozen at least. They come in, what do I need to do? How do I do this? Who can I look to for funding? I'm having a problem with the permits. They say I need this. I say, I walk up to the 5th floor. I talk with them at permitting. I will walk it through the process any way I can. My answer is the same every time. We would much rather have somebody rehab this property than tear it down. We don't want to tear it down. So maybe this one is a sad story, but I do want to offer, having heard all this conversation today, that we do spend more of our time helping people to facilitate bringing these out of condemnation than we do demolishing them. When we get to a story like this and we're just, our hands are tied, we feel like we're out of options, and the neighborhood is crying out, there's so many people from the neighborhood bringing so much attention to this, that's when we come here. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you, Councilmember Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. Director Mersman.
I just have one very quick question. Do we know if it's the current owner or the previous owner that paid all the back taxes?
The new one.
The new one.
Yeah. Hearing fairly consistent commentary. Would someone like to make a motion? Again, I think we have a couple of options. One is to make a motion on this one. One would be to table to give us more time or more additional sort of trying to get some outreach. But Mr.
Chair, I'd like to add just another potential thing here. A number of years ago, passed Residents First, the legislation. One of the items that was in that was the potential of using demolition funds for stabilization instead. And I don't know whether that was ever followed through on, and the stabilization and mothballing, and stabilization would be eliminating the garage and then sealing up against the elements. And I don't know where that stands in process, whether that was ever fully adopted, but I know a previous case from a number of years ago at the beginning of the Bibb administration, we were going through something like this. And we had asked for that to be included in there as a consideration, because not everything needs to come down, but we also know we can't save every building. So it's those case by case things. I think I would want to have answers. Are we able to use the demo funds to stabilize? And maybe it's cleaning up the yard. And then there's that. And when this property was first being offered for sale, and once it did get so, we did send out a letter saying, welcome to the neighborhood. We have I believe, have the contact information for the person who was running the auction, both email and phone number, which may be another way to reach out. And I just put that out there because, yes, and I appreciate all the effort, and I get it. And we've tried to do some as well. I've reached out to Gloria Rose myself, and she's responded and said she's willing to buy back the public good. Can't do it now, but I don't put any faith in that. So I think there are still one or two answers or questions that need to be answered. And it has been a really long discussion. This goes way before you. It goes way before me. It's decades old discussion. And one thing that, Ms. Anderson, to answer one of the things that I had asked for because there's a process for demolition, you just don't jump to condemnation. There's things that you follow. One of the things that I had asked for a number of years ago was, can Landmark staff or the Landmarks Commission be notified as an interested party when the process first starts, so we can have that parallel review and potentially do all that stuff instead of getting it, because traditionally, historically, it starts here, we get notified here, and could we have the same amount of time to potentially do restoration, stabilization, find out what the other alternatives are in that time? But if we both get to that same point at the same time and say, we have exhausted all of our resources and all of our options during the same time that you have gone through your process, I think it would be much easier for us to have that conversation about a demolition, because we've had the same amount of time rather than us having to rush.
So what I'm hearing, Mr. Brunges, is maybe the suggestion of tabling this demolition for a period of time to be able to get additional information. Okay. That would be something that the applicant would need to be amenable to. But I think we would want to make sure, if we are to propose that as a motion, to give a definite sort of time period for which that additional investigation should occur. So with that said,
Mr. Chair,
that being an option, would that be something that you would be willing to?
just a quick question. And I don't know if we'll have this answer today, but do we have an idea of what it would take cost-wise to rehab this home, bring it back to its former glory?
Email Gloria Rose. Her response was, it would probably take $300,000 for somebody to purchase and rehab it. But the purchase price for this was, I think, $125 without looking. But like, because of how significant the dip in the floor is, it needs to be deconstructed to be reconstructed. Because my assumption is that the water is coming in from the roof and it's trickled down from the roof to the second floor. And who the hell knows where the water is going? It's coming from in that kitchen. So I don't, and if she got that number years ago, I'm sure that number is more now, unfortunately. So, I mean, some of the, like there are some that is just cosmetic, dining room, living room, that one little weird addition. If it was me, I'd take it off altogether. I don't even know what the roof is over it. But we know that like the roof needed to be replaced immediately when this owner purchased it. That should have been the first thing that she did. I mean, there are holes in it. And the fact that she didn't do that really brings us like really grave concern. But at a minimum, she didn't slap a roof on it.
I think we know that it would be expensive just from looking at the house, but I think it's the unknowns that are particularly scary.
Yeah.
So we know it would be expensive, plus who knows, so I think that's the real big issue.
Probably a third of the house would have to go down to the studs to determine where the structural issues lie. Sorry, yeah, probably a third of the house would have to be taken down to the studs to determine where the structural issues lie. Like I said, I only felt them from on the second floor and up, which is good. But they're there, and it was very unexpected when I walked up. Because I walked in, I was like, okay, the got in through the kitchen window. I was like, oh, okay, and then it kind of got better, and then I went upstairs, and I was like, ooh, that's not great. Not the worst thing we've ever seen. Based on some testimony from the neighbor, they said that they hauled 3 dumpsters of clothing out of the house. Don't know if the weight of the debris caused issues. I do believe that those beds are remaining upstairs because they're afraid to walk over the landing. That's why there's some large furniture in the property remaining. So,
All right. Thank you for that. So Uh,
Yeah. I guess I just, thank you, Councilwoman. I guess I just, I am really sympathetic to, commission members who've raised, this is a beautiful home. It's a beautiful home, but I think we're also just, there's a reality of the situation that we're dealing with here, and it is very costly. It'd be costly to rehab this home. And is there someone that would be willing to come and rehab it? We're kind of in a, the economic environment we're in now. I'm not, folks are struggling to buy homes, let alone, a historic home that would require a lot of investment. So I guess I'm just really feeling sympathetic mostly to the neighbors that have to live next to this home. And, I've lived next to a dilapidated, vacant, abandoned home myself, and it's horrible. It took years for the city to tear it down. So, especially with this family, with a young child who, this neighborhood really has seemed to come together to advocate for this home to come down. So I just want to put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So that said, again, I think that there's a couple of options. One, we take a vote on the motion as it stands, or two, we make a motion to table. If there's a motion to table, would that be something that you all would be amenable to? Do you want to vote on the motion?
I mean, so here's where I am. Of course, I would do anything, but I also feel that generally speaking, I'm working for the residents of this neighborhood, the citizens of the city of Cleveland. There's so much outcry from this neighborhood about this property that I'm really disappointed for them. I don't live in this neighborhood. I don't live next to this house. I don't have a 6-month-old child that has to deal with this. It's not about me. It's about the residents of this neighborhood, and they seem to all be in favor of this. So, of course, I would do whatever it takes to support them. If it's a matter of tabling it or denying our ask, then of course I'm for tabling it. But I also, I'm hearing the comments from Ms. Saban. I don't think this is economically viable. I don't think we're going to find somebody. That's just my feeling. I would push. I would strongly request that for approval to demolish this to help the residents of this neighborhood. But I'm committed to however long it takes or whatever it takes to support them.
All right, thank you. That said, do we have a
Yeah.
motion?
Chair, to assist procedurally here, I would like to put a motion on the table to approve the demolition as presented, especially given what we have heard about the community concern and the prior activity on the property to try and bring it into a livable condition that has failed. I feel much more comfortable leaning into that than to potential undefined and likely low probability chances of rescuing it in the future. All that being said, the systemic issues and the actions that we can align to take for properties like this way upstream are resounding, and I think are the main message to carry forward from here, aside from this one particular case. So sorry for the editorialization as part of that motion, but the motion is to approve the demolition as presented.
Director Mersman, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Saban. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
No.
Councilmember Gray,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mrs. Saban,
Yes.
Mr. Sandberry,
No.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Abstain.
and Mr. Lozier.
No.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes by a vote of 5-3 with 1 abstention.
All right. Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Thank you.
My door's open if anybody.
All right, with that, we will move on to our next certificate of appropriateness, case 26-061, Market Square Historic District, Getz Building, previous case number 24-013, located at 1898 West 25th Street, renovation.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to need to recuse myself.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. And with that, go ahead and please state your names for the record and proceed with your presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm Kevin Oliver with Oliver Architecture.
Doug Perkowski, owner of the building.
So as you mentioned, this is the Getz Building. We've been here a few years ago and are back again with it. So it is 1898 West 25th Street. The first few images here show some context for it. It's a narrow building that runs the full depth of the block. You can see it sort of relative to the market. And photos on the top are from the West 25th facade. It is in the second photo from the left on the top, just to the left of Pins Mechanical there. And on the right is its front facade currently. And the lower images are from the rear side of it, kind of across the Dave's parking lot. And on the bottom right is the building itself. It's two-story rear facade. Again, just to locate everyone, West 25th is on the right of this, parking lot's on the left, and the building does run the full length of the parcel. And our proposal is to rehab the front and rear facades. So replacing the boarded up storefront areas with new gray aluminum storefront framing with insulated glazing, to repair the areas of paneling and replace and just get the plywood infill out and new infill in, and the kind of top two windows flanking the center, rehab those sort of in place and configuration. Not easy to see, but there previously was a transom above the storefront and entry door of prism glass that has been salvaged. And so our proposal is to reinstall that just inboard of the new envelope of the storefront glazing, so that it's out of the elements. We maintain the enclosure of our building. And as we get to some other images, we are creating a new stair in that location so that users of the space will walk past it essentially within the building, and sort of a different experience of it than they would from the streetscape. At the rear, probably this left image of existing is a much more cleaned up image than the photo of what's back there, but essentially taking the old openings of various bricks, windows, infill, and replacing those with pre-finished metal panels inside of a pre-finished framing system. Keep the openings intact, but enclose those there. And then the top portion of this is actually set back towards the West 25th side, but clad those with the same pre-finished metal panels, just to keep it consistent from the rear side. The panels on the top left are the profile, not the color, so those will be a dark gray color, and then the front showing the dark gray storefront glazing system. And then just for some context, the floor plans, you can see on the right, the stair that kind of is the 2 stories at the front of the building. And then if I go one more, this is a section cut right at the front on West 25th, the sidewalk to the right, and kind of pointing out the stair that is receding away from you there does pass at that elevation of the transom window, where we'll have the prism glass reinstalled inboard of the new exterior storefront. And, you know, this is sort of a perspective view from the streetscape of the proposed storefront systems, the stairs within it, and where that kind of transom will be with the prism glass set inboard of it. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your presentation. Before we get to questions and comments from the commission, we'll open it up the floor for public comment. Anyone want to speak on behalf or against this project? Seeing and hearing none, we'll hear recommendations from the Design Review Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project was presented to the Historical House City Design Review Advisory Committee on July 2nd for kind of schematic review and overview of the rehab. There was no quorum at that meeting, but the committee members present did discuss the rear infill on the back with the windows, as well as the prism glass. When the project returned on August 20th, there was also not quorum, but the revised or kind of changes made by the applicant at that time, the committee members present were appreciative of the reinstallation of the prism glass and wanted to just ensure that the mortar meets or matches the makeup, color, and feeling of the existing, and noted that they were supportive of the proposal.
Great. Thank you very much. And Landmark staff recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is excited to see one of the last buildings in the Market Square district, rehabbed. And as noted, we saw this slightly different proposal, very slightly different back in 2024. I think this proposal resolves some of the questions that came up then. And, happy to see the Luxford prismatic glass being reinstalled and reutilized. No concerns about adherence to the Secretary of the Interior standards on our end. Just didn't have quorum at local.
Great. All right. And with that, we'll open up to the commission for questions and comments. Would anyone like to start us off? Mr. Sandberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, this is, I think, by far my favorite building up and down that strip. So I'm really excited to see this move forward and something to happen with that building, be occupied again. I guess a couple of questions I have. Are you going through any of the storefront renovation program or tax credit program or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Overall, I think I appreciate that you've been historically minded with the renovation. And it seems appropriate. Yeah, I have no major issues. I'm glad to see it, come back to life.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sandberg. Any other questions or comments? I will echo Mr. Sandberg's comments. This is a fantastic underutilized building in the district, and I couldn't be more excited to see it get new life and such an appropriate rehabilitation reconstruction. So thank you. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Or would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Sandberg.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sandberg. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Mersman, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Councilmember Gray,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Ms. Saban,
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trosick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Mr. Lozier.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously, noting Ms. Anderson's abstention.
All right, thank you very much.
Recusal.
Looking forward to seeing this happen.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, we will now move forward with our last certificate of appropriateness for today. Case number 26-062, Lorraine Avenue Historic District, located at 5505-09 Lorraine Avenue, renovation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike McGettrick. I'm with Architect C.A. McGettrick, and we are planning a extensive renovation of the building located at 5505 Lorraine Avenue. This first slide, you can see, unfortunately, the existing conditions. This area, this short portion of Lorraine Corridor is kind of not gotten to the point of many other areas. And I think this project will hopefully inspire other property owners to do very similar to what our client is proposing. Next slide, please. This is some adjacent structures. As you can see, you know, they're not horrible, but you know, they have seen better days. Next slide, please. This is just a demolition plan. Explain what we were going to be doing. Next slide. So these are floor plans for the proposed. The first floor will remain retail, and it will be white box for future tenants. And the second floor will be co-working office space. And next slide, please. These are proposed elevations. We'll be removing all the existing cladding on the bulkhead of the storefront and replacing with new AZAC trim. The storefront will be replaced with new aluminum storefront, which will be black, same as the bulkhead. And then the bay window, the bays up above will be removed of their existing rotting cladding and replaced with AZAC trim board and sheeting, and will be also done in Sherwin-Williams tricorn black. The building cornice will replace any damaged areas, brackets including, and then it'll be painted to match. All the brick will be, as you could see in the first slide, there's quite a lot of graffiti. It'll all be cleaned, tuck pointed, and all the sills and lintels will be cleaned and caulked as needed. And the soffits of the entries and below of the bays will be removing the tongue and groove cladding and replacing with AZAC beadboard. And on the east, we will be infilling existing masonry openings with new storefront on the first floor. And then in the rear portion of the building, we'll be removing one of the overhead doors and replace it with storefront. The other one will be replaced with a 16-foot wide by 10-foot tall full view aluminum overhead door. And we will also be replacing all of the double hungs or single hungs above that were removed at one point and replaced with smaller double hungs with a fiberglass panel above. We'll be restoring all those openings to their original and installing windows of appropriate size. And I forgot to add that the rear portion of the building, the single story portion, we will be patching all of the existing CMU and painting it the same color black. Next slide. This just shows the new exterior lighting that we proposed. I apologize that the wall sconce isn't shown in black, but it will be black. And it just calls out the softening. Next slide. These are a few renderings. Again, I apologize. I don't know why the masonry didn't come out the right color, but it will be the tricorn black to match the rest of the building's trim. Oh, and I want to point out too, the storefront cornice, it was brought up at the August 20th meeting to keep the proportions. So we will be replacing that with AZAC trim and flashing and blocking to create the proper proportions of the existing storefront cornice. Next slide. This describes the storefronts and the colors and what we'll be using. Next slide, please. That is a cut sheet of the overhead door, and then The windows will be Anderson 100 series. They're fiberglass, black inside, black exterior, and they will be 2 up, 2 down. Next slide. And then this just shows the specs for the lighting and then the trim. And that completes the presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Before we get to questions and comments, we will open up the floor to public comment. There's no one left in this room, so if there's, I don't know, if there's anyone online that doesn't seem like there's anyone online other than the group of us here. Thank you again for your patience in getting to your case.
Best for last.
Hearing none, seeing none, we'll hear recommendations from the Design Review Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on August 20th. There was not quorum at that meeting, but as our applicant noted, they did have some comments regarding the proportion of the cornice, wanting to make sure that that was maintained. And the committee members there did recommend mimicking divisions in the storefront displays that exist currently. But overall, we're supportive of the proposal.
All right, great. And Landmark staff recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is happy to see the property being proposed for rehab and brought back into productive use. Kind of one of those ones driven by over the last 20 years and kind of watched it slowly get a little worse for wear every year. I think we agree with local about looking at reconfiguration of the window divisions. I think historically a property of this age would have had more divisions in the transom windows. And then the display window configurations feel about right to me. Staff is happy to work out those details with staff if the commission chooses to include anything about window divisions in its motion, but we would recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Musson. With that, we'll open up the floor to questions and comments from the commission. Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to make sure that the architect is familiar with the AZAC material painted in such a dark color. I have AZAC on my home in Tremont, and it's been replaced twice with a very light, like buff colored paint, and distorted very quickly and had to be replaced twice. So I just looked up the requirements for AZAC. I queried whether it could be painted black. And there's a specific requirement that a heat reflective formulation has to be used and proper prep of the AZAC material if you're going to consider dark colors. And there's a Sherwin-Williams product called Vinyl Safe Colors that should be consulted if you're going to paint that material that dark color. And I just wanted to make sure that the architect had experiences and was familiar with those requirements.
Yes, agreed. We had discussed that with the owners as well. We are aware of what needs to be done. And I explained to them, is it something that, do we go to a Hardy so it's pre-finished? But we will definitely take that into consideration when ordering.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure that you were familiar with those specific restrictions in terms of the AZAC material.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Strickland. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's great to see this building being revitalized. Unlike a lot of the buildings in that area, much of the historic trim, the wood is intact. A lot of the historic character is still there. The brackets, the dental molding at the top. There's a lot of trim around the panels for the bay window. It's still there. It's still intact. And so that's great to see that it's still there. I know years ago, part of the reason that we developed historic districts and historic district guidelines is, all that stuff would get torn off or covered with, aluminum or something and, and minimalized. And, as somebody who loves and cherishes our older architecture and designs, I find great joy in seeing all those original details. I, enjoy going past these buildings and, I revel in, seeing the dentals and the brackets and, and whatnot. And I think the modern interpretation, instead of covering them with vinyl, we just paint everything black so that the maximalist character of the building is turned into a kind of a minimalist interpretation. And that when I see that, it just makes me sad. And there's quite a bit of that, the black trim and the black, paint or, charcoal gray or whatever throughout the district. And, again, it's somebody who really celebrates the joy of these buildings. Again, I really object to seeing everything in, in black. So those are my comments.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Mr. Sandberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I'd echo the same that Mr. Strickland and Ms. Anderson said. I don't fully believe black is the appropriate color for all the features on this building. I think it would be beneficial to look into what other options there are, and maybe come up with a more historically appropriate color scheme for this building. And then I also want to echo what staff has said about the divided lights and maybe a more appropriate sized storefront windows and transom windows need to be investigated a little bit. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberry. I'll add my comments. I just want to echo everything that's been said. I think, again, one of the really unique things about this particular property is that it appears that most of the historic detailing is intact, which I think should be a really great roadmap on how to, make sure that the sort of renovation, restoration should be followed. I don't necessarily have opinion one way or another on the coloration, but I think that further investigation wouldn't hurt the process. My only sort of stipulation would be, and I think this was also mentioned by staff, is to submit the final details for sort of the sort of recreated pieces and details to staff for review, as well as the final configuration of the storefront itself as well. So other than that, those are my comments. And again, echoing, the applicant and the owner of this building for making the investment in keeping this building and restoring this building, and not suggesting that it should be torn down, like we've been seeing the past couple of meetings, which is very disheartening. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from the commission, or would someone like to make a motion?
Could I speak real quick?
Yep.
As in the 20th meeting, we will divide the storefront, especially the transoms, the display window, maybe we'll look into that because they're not all proportional, but I definitely feel that dividing the transoms is a great idea. The color, I've had presented multiple options. First time around, I thought a darker green would look very nice. That is something that they're open to. And we, as I stated before, we will be taking down a portion of the storefront cornice to get a better idea of its depth and profile. And on the construction documents, it'll show that profile. But other than that, I appreciate the feedback.
Fantastic. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Sandberry?
I think that's really helpful to know. And I guess I should have mentioned earlier, I'm really appreciative of all the other work that you're planning to do to this building. I think it looks like you're planning a great project, and I'm excited to see it. So with that knowledge, I think I would make a motion to approve as presented, with the stipulation that the details of the windows and the details of the cornice and any other color schemes come back to staff.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Mersman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Mustin, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Director Mersman?
Yes.
Ms. Saban?
Yes.
Mr. Sandberry?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Mr. Trasick?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
And Mr. Lozier?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, congratulations. We look forward to seeing your project move forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, that concludes our certificates of appropriateness. So we will move on to administrative reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only thing we have is that we're going to be scheduling a site visit for 5103 Detroit for yet another demolition, this one private, but yes, it's scheduled for the 1st already. So yeah, you should have gotten that email. So hopefully we'll see you there.
All right, sounds good. Anything else?
That is all.
All right, then with that, we will adjourn today's Landmark Commission meeting. Our next meeting is on September 10th, 2026. Thank you, everyone.